Here we go.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020, Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care, and being part of that collaboration in 2022 and 2021. Our team reached out to over and fathers all around the world. And as always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And we're broadcasting live on Sunday afternoon where I am, September 10th. So for a lot of people, maybe their first week of school that's done with the young people. And usually, on Sunday afternoons, 5 p.m., we do something called Black Canada Talking. And it's where Black Canadians get a chance to share their POVs. We share Black Canadians with the world on what's going on in their world, whether it's local, provincial, city, state, global, nation, etc. So we are back with another conversation day. And as always, it seems lately this man's making some time, and I'm glad he makes some time because there's a lot of people that like to see him and hear him for what he has to say. So we have in Cesar Ndema-Moussa. Cesar, you are with us today. How we doing? Let me just get this thing going here. Okay, there he is. How you doing, brother?
I'm okay. Thank you, Dr. Vibe. Thank you always for having me. Thank you, family on the four corners and also allies for joining in and being with us.
Excellent. What's been going on in your world?
Well, keeping the head above the water, dealing with everything that comes our way, standing strong, always thankful to those who support us and give us life, give us support, and we will notably talk about that, making sure that, just as yesterday, I went to Ottawa's Afrofest with my daughter, and very purposefully, as you know me, the Pan-Africanist that I am, I wore this beautiful shirt. I don't know if I can show all the whole shirt, but
yeah, you can go. You can stand up. Wake up.
Rise up.
Rise up.
Rise up.
Right. I like that. Let's give a promo on that. Who did that shirt?
I don't remember, but I have one or two. I generally have maybe. Yes, I have this one, and I have two other hoodies. I'll definitely look it up. I'll look it up.
Yeah. Any great work by our Black melanated people, we need to get out there. So that looks great, man. So how was yesterday in Ottawa?
It was great. Unfortunately, we got there a little bit late. But yes, my daughter is cute, but people were also attracted to the shirt. Afrofest, right? Brought some conversation, but I would say it was a great event. I like the organization, more people than I would have expected. And it was well organized. It's important that we say this. Black people can do things well organized with police presence, with alcohol, and people feel safe. People feel like, this is something where you want to come again with your family and you want to come earlier. So yes, I was very big congratulations to the organizers. Seriously, I was very impressed. And it's important, something
Good
very
stuff.
important here.
Before we go any further,
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say just a little housework here. As always, please, if you haven't, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button so you get notified about great conversations like this one. Also, follow the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And also, if you would like to advertise your business or service on any of the platforms I host, please email me dr@the drvibeshow.com. So Cesar had a great day yesterday. I had a great experience yesterday, a Black experience that I think you would find interesting.
What happened?
So, yeah, a little bit of a background. My father, who is now 86, came up to Canada with a large contingent of other Jamaicans, and he's kept these friendships. There's a core for a long period of time. And there's this one couple that he has known. He was their MC at their wedding 50 years ago.
50, wow.
So earlier on this year, they had a celebration for their 50 years, and they asked him to make the first speech.
Respect.
That part one and two, right there. And then what this gentleman, every year he has to get together, and this couple owns a farm that's about 45 minutes drive from eastern part of Greater Toronto where I live. And he invites people out. So my dad said, hey, come on up with me this year. So we went up. Cesar, the man owns 200 acres of farmland.
That's big.
He's owned it since 1970.
Yeah.
And
that's big.
I just went, we always talk on this platform that, you want people, our elders to show good leadership. He's owned it since 1977. He lives in Toronto, but he drives 4 days a week, every morning at 5:30 in the morning to work on this land. And so I said, I won't use his last name. I said, Mr., I love this place. Can you just take like a few minutes and take me around? I said, sure. So we jump in his 4x4 and he drove me around the 200 acres of land, farmland. And then but when we came to it, I said, you've been married for 50 years. He was also a policeman for 37 years in Toronto. And I just said, you know what? Can you just take a few minutes and just give me some words of wisdom of your journey, whether being a father, a husband, just a Black man. And those 5 to 7 minutes were priceless. And I said, you know what? Do you mind if I come up here every once in a while? I says, hey, you know what? I've known you since you were born. This is where the key is. If you don't need to come up here, come up here. There's a key. Just lock up everything when you're done. I said, okay. So Cesar, hopefully the next time you're in Toronto and it ain't winter, I would love to take you up to this place.
I would be honored.
Down and listen to this elder, who's lived a life. And like we always talk about, our entertainers and all that. I said, you know what? Here's someone that's known me since I was born, who owns land, and he farms it, and it's going to be generational because he has kids. And I asked him, has he been offered to sell it? And he says, oh yeah, developers are coming up, and it's actually in the green belt, which is a big controversial area right now in Ontario, right?
Yeah.
And he told me how much he's been offered for it. And I went and I sat beside, and I said, I'm sitting beside a Black man who's a millionaire who's known me all my life. Like, I know him. I can call him. It's not some entertainer. Here's a man who's worked hard, kept a stable relationship, kept goodly. Like, when he retired at his retirement ceremony, officers that he worked with who were non-melanated came to the event from Mexico. Enough said.
Very impressive. Very, very impressive. I mean, and in the meanwhile of him acquiring so much land, aka possession, whatever one wants to think about it, he was married 50 years. And he
still is.
It still is. And he was being a police officer for 30 years, 37 years.
Yeah.
He was wearing multiple hats while thinking long
Yes.
term. While
Yes.
thinking long term. Much respect
Yeah. Yeah.
to this
Yeah.
elder.
I mean, and I think it's interesting. This may loop into one of our conversation topics near the end today, too,
Mm-hmm.
in that, but it was, and I spoke about it briefly on the show I did last night. I'm also going to speak about it tomorrow, but I need people to hear it from my lips. I got real. It challenged me. It inspired me. It stretched me. I'm thinking about taking a group of young Black people and taking them there and saying, "This man here owns this,"
Mm-hmm.
just to show it that it's not someone on a screen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not your latest social media post. This is someone who's within an hour of where you live, drive time, who's done this and comes out every day to keep it, maintain it, to preserve it.
Very impressive.
Yeah. So
But you know, one of the failures, I hate to say it like that, and it's not looking at the negative, but the transmission of such knowledge and wealth has to be passed on better to the larger community group. And unfortunately, this is where we have one of those weaknesses. I mean, if you look at it in terms of evolution, the strength of humanity, human beings, has been that the knowledge of the parents passes on to the children to help them avoid XYZ situations. Meanwhile, for animals, they tend to be ruled more by instinct.
yeah.
Communities are the same thing. The communities that succeed, that strive, it's also because they have a better transmission of knowledge, of wealth, of power at all levels, and they just build on that. Us, in terms of Black people, I mean, you just look at some of our rich and famous, most of them, too many of them being entertainers. What usually happens? Maybe one or two generations at the most. So many of our athletes, NBA, football, they become broke 3 to 5 years later. So these are issues that, when we have these type of role models, we need to make sure that others benefit even better. And when I say benefit better, things like Rich Dad and those type of books, in terms of from other communities, it's not that it can't help, but those books are not, they don't have the community, the racial element to speak to our communities, to speak to our mindset in terms of the frame of success. They simply don't. We are the Black community where most of our people, and I've tested this many times in different high schools, but also among adults, we are that one community where most of our people cannot name who the richest Black person is on earth. And they can't name who the richest person has been in history. And the shock on the face when you tell them it's a Black man. In brackets, he's not a hero, contrary to what most people think. He's not a hero, but he was still Black, So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so we just advertised the crowd up. So let's move on. So there's some topics that Cesar wants to chat in, and I'll just add in where I feel I can in our conversation today. But first thing, Cesar wanted to shout out maybe just some people in general. I don't feel their names, but he wanted to do sort of a shout out of maybe some people or some things that are going on in the Black environment. So Cesar, I'll let you start on that.
Yes, I will actually give the names, but I will not give. I will honor and respect their work. Let them advertise, and when they're ready to come out in public, I want to make sure, uh, you know, the privilege and the honor that you give me to receive me is not about me as an individual, as a Pan Africanist, as one that many view and call a Black community leader. It's important that as I advance, that I bring my community forward as well. And as such, it matters to celebrate, to honor other Black people who are doing great things. because there are many of them. There are many of them. We tend to live in communities where most of our people, especially in Canada, just look at the US or look at TV. So to jump right into it, let me start. I'm just going to give the example of two men, two brothers, and one sister. And I'm not going to say too much about what they're doing, but I want to make sure that the name is out there for the ancestors, but also for our descendants to know these Black people are doing things. So, Kevin Calixte, my friend of the KK Show, and Natif TV, Natyf, notably in becoming authorized by the CRTC to become the
Oh,
first Black racialized television channel in Quebec. And I hate the word racialized.
wow.
Yes, yes, yes. This is big news, my Black people. It is very, very big news. Uh, I won't say too much. I think, you know, a conversation will come further about that, but I just want to make sure that the name is out there, that people know, whether you have family and friends in Quebec, if people are hearing us from Quebec, Kevin Calix, and there's a lot of other people involved in that, of course, but Kevin Calix and Natif TV, Natyf space TV, they're doing great things. They have my support. It was an uphill battle, but they've been going on for a couple of years already. I've been honored to be privy to some of what's going on. So they have my full support regarding that. Another person I want to name, it's a sister, Veronique Semexton, with her initiative, notably regarding Black males, youth, and adults, in terms of bringing up the brothers, young and older, as so often in this Black community, when we talk about success and achievements, a lot of talk, a lot of praise is given to the sisters. And too often, brothers are only seen through stereotypical lenses, if not negative lenses. And of course, we will talk further about that. I also want to give a shout out to our brother, and this is one we both know, Ryan Knight. So,
Hmm.
um, very much honored. Yes, it was earlier this week. Actually, this it was this very week. I was in a meeting with brother Ryan and a couple of other brothers and sisters. Some big things is happening, community slash nationwide level. Allow me not to say too much, but let me put it this way. So, as I sit on multiple boards, I sometimes have meetings after 6 p.m. So here I am telling wifey, "Oh, I forgot about this meeting, but the brother really insisted on me to come. So let me go check out what this is about." I didn't remember what it was about. And let's just put it this way: 10, 15 minutes into it, I told my wife, I'm like, "I'm staying on the meeting. I understand why I'm here. This matters." So
Was that on Tuesday?
yes, yes,
Yes, I usually am at those meetings, so man, I missed out, but I know he has them weekly. And
yeah,
yes, well, I'm glad to hear that you were allowed some time to do
yeah, yeah. Because it's like normally at that time, I don't go to the gym at that time anymore because now brother is a family man, right? So we got to put the priorities right. But no, I had to be there, and I understood in that meeting what my role could be, how I can be of assistance, aka serving our community. Because
right.
too often, and we don't need to look at whether it's entertainers or politicians. Too often we tend to forget, and this is a very important message. Dear Black people, no matter where you are in hearing this message, and hopefully, whatever language you speak, you can understand or have someone to translate. We need to remember something very important here. Just as the shirt that I'm wearing, speaking, it says "Wake up," let's be woke, the way our ancestors meant it. It's not about the shining of one person. And even as I'm naming Brother Kevin Calix, Sister Veronique Semextan, and Brother Ryan Knight, no, we are servants of our community. Brother Dr. Vibe is a servant of the community. Ultimately, if we didn't care, we wouldn't be here. And when I say we wouldn't be here, and everybody knows this about me, in the nature of the world that we live in, when we stand up, speak up for our community, we are also endangering ourselves. We're taking a risk, but we're taking a risk to uplift the many. So this is really what it's about. It's important that we give shout out to um, our sisters and brothers who are doing the work and will um, often, too often, don't get the light on them. And let's be honest, in the world that we live in, you're more likely to have a lot of media attention if you get uh, killed by a racist white cop, becoming
Mhm,
another name in the list because of the
mhm,
outrage and the protests, than because you're doing some good work but nobody sees you. So it was
mhm.
important for me to name these people, just as it's important for me to take a moment here to celebrate. Now, I don't have the full info, and I apologize because I didn't read the newspaper article that I saved, but um, Black Health in Canada coming more and more together to
Uh,
organize.
okay,
Yes,
so just to update you on that, that's the Black Health Professionals Network, BP.
yes.
I don't, yes. So they are having a conference in Toronto at the end of this week on Saturday, this, I believe, the 16th of September. And they
Mhm.
also, on the 7th of September, which just passed, launched a Black Health Directory.
Yes.
So I actually, so two of the co-founders are going to be on the Dr. Vibe show this Tuesday at
Thank
2
you.
p.m. Eastern time, at
Thank you.
which is September 12th. Yes, I'm very happy, and I was very humbled because I had some members of the organization on back February, and then I got an email from their PR person saying we'd like to have these two people. I said that'd be great. So the PR person and I, we had a conversation. I go, and I keep in touch. I say, have you had any other media? We had stuff on City TV in Toronto and CBC. I go,
Mhm.
well, I'm glad to be included. She says, no, we came to you first. I
Mhm.
said, I said,
Mhm.
very humbled. And she said, because we know when we go on these major platforms, and every platform is different, that they're going to get an hour to really share, talk
Mhm.
about their story, and let them share their own story and control their narrative. So I'm very excited about having them on. And this directory, the thing and you bring up relevant points, and also shout out to each one of those individuals, is that when we want to just have a single black or melanated leader, it's so easy to tear it down. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, et cetera, et cetera. We have to find, and we say it over and over again, but we have to find a way of getting the right people together to move ahead. When you just have one person,
Mhm.
it's so easy to take it down, and
Mhm.
especially with the challenges we have. And it's interesting you mentioned that, Cesar, because I've been doing some deep thinking lately, saying, am I being too hard with some people and organizations? I do. I'm thinking about that. I've been doing a lot of thinking. I say the concern I have with other organizations, and I don't put out a lot of bad spin, but the concerns I have, do I am I expressing the same sort of energy on non-military organizations that are not doing right? And I'm doing some introspective saying, saying some things that I'm not appreciative of. Am I also saying that to organizations that are non-melanated who are not treating us right? I'm
It's
thinking on
unavoid-
that.
it's unavoidable that you will be harsher towards your own because you have a more vested interest in their success. In that same logic, and I don't know if people know this, but I mentor about a dozen professionals around the world. They're not all black, but notably, well, the youngest one is black, 28 years old, medical student. physician in short time coming. And the oldest one is also black in France. And part of my mentoring is not to my glory, aka people coming to me asking me to mentor them. No, it's me helping to polish the diamonds that they are, the potential they are, for them to become the leaders of tomorrow.
Yeah.
And tomorrow starts tomorrow. It's not in 10 or 15 years.
Exactly.
I can even say tomorrow starts today.
Yeah.
Let me give you a perfect example, if you don't mind, because this is important that we do this shout out. When I was saying that yesterday, I was working at Afrofest very purposefully with this shirt that I put on for the occasion. Yes, people came to me because of the shirt. I love it. Oh, face raised, and some people came to me recognizing me from conferences and other events. There was one young black man, I will say his name, Christian from Congo. He introduced me to his mother, and he told
Wow.
me how his mother had been trying to awaken his black pride, but it's when he heard me giving a conference at his college that it really hit him. And part of what he told me was what hit him, and in the conversation that we had, and really goes into the our last topic, it was the face that he saw on the screen that didn't match a professional that the college is bringing to give a conference.
Right.
The dark skin, the shades, the earrings, and then the strong black speech. It shocked him. That's where he started his path into uh, returning into African spirituality and becoming a Pan Africanist. It really shocked him. So
Nice.
we need to have leaders. The 1950s and 1960s and even 1920s of Marcus Garvey, it
Yeah.
doesn't work. It makes it easier to tear away. As we're advancing on the shout out, allow me to make sure that I give a shout out to our Canadian basketball team who won
Yes.
the bronze medal. Yes.
Yes. Beat the U.S. in overtime.
Yes. And in saying that, first of all, congratulations to Team Germany for winning. And but notably Dennis Schroeder, well, is coming to Toronto actually. He's gonna be playing for Toronto Raptors. But let me also give congratulations, if that should be said so, to this other brother in track and field, aka Noah Lyles, who had rightfully said it. The NBA champions are
Yeah.
not world champions, and it upset a lot of people. But this is
Yeah.
this is not something that should upset people. This is something that should help people to understand it's a global world we live in. It's a world that's more connected. I mean, you were watching this thing and you see black people, sure. Germany, you can look at the football, soccer team, France, but Philippines got black players.
Yeah.
Jordan in the Middle East got black players.
Yeah.
I mean, in football, aka soccer, we know Japan has had black players, aka Brazilians, who got Japanese citizenship. But to me, it's beautiful to see black people being part of all those teams. And for anyone who wonders, me, I tell you right now, when I don't know two teams and I'm just looking at them, you want to know who I'm going to cheer? Show me where the black people are. I will cheer my sisters. I will cheer my brothers. So do I watch tennis? I don't. But you know what? Coco Golf. Congratulations, little
Yeah.
sister. Thank you, Serena Williams. Thank you, Venus Williams. We have to develop that kind of mindset in terms of supporting our own. Now, don't get me wrong. Tiger Woods and his 45 Vikings mistresses, but we have to support our own in all facets when they are doing good stuff. And this is the last shout out that I will give, and then we go to our next topic. Big, big congratulations. My face is high in the air for a sister whose name is coming into history, aka Fannie Willis.
Oh yes.
Yes, 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 yes,
We
yes,
talked about her last night on State of
yes.
Things. Aisha Jilanlala, her response to Representative Jim Jordan.
Jim, yes,
Wow,
yes, yes,
wow,
yes,
wow,
yes.
wow, wow.
I love
Like
that
we.
sister. I love that sister. She is how can I put it?
Fo-
The spirit of Harriet Tubman,
Folks,
the
what
spirit
she
of
wrote.
Nanny is in her.
Yeah, if
This
you haven't written, put in your search engine Fannie Willis response to Jim Jordan. Read
yes.
it.
I ha, ha, ha.
Read it. Like I mean, like the ladies last night. Oh my gosh, they were chomping at the bit to talk about that.
When I read that response and I see, I mean, don't get me wrong, to want to try 19 people at the same time, that's quite an undertaking. But the spirit of it all in regards to this man, Donald Trump, and it is very shameful for some of our black people to support Donald Trump, not because they can't support, let's say, Donald Trump, a white person, of course. Now, that's not the issue here. You support someone who basically speaks to what you agree with. And I've seen great white leaders that I totally support. But Donald Trump has a documented history of racism against black people since the 1970s. Don't give me the BS of showing pictures of Donald Trump with other black celebrities such as Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali. It means nothing. More than likely, they just happen to be in the same room and they know people in common. So, what do you want me to do? But the man has a history of documented racism against black people. I am so proud of Sister Fannie Willis, of the courage. To me, that sister, the spirit of Ya Asantewa, the spirit of Harriet Tubman, the spirit of Nanny of the Maroons, the spirit of Mulatresse Solitude, the spirit of many names, Dandara of Brazil, of Quilombo dos Palmares, the spirit of those great black women warriors are in her because it's not just in terms of doing her job as I think she's a district attorney
Yeah,
over there in Fulton County, Atlanta,
yeah.
but really there is a racial element to addressing the crimes of Donald Trump. And I really say crimes because if it wasn't Donald Trump or if it was Barack Obama or some other black person, we all know it's been a long time that person would have been in jail, if not killed. Joe Biden himself said it. So I just wanted to
Okay.
make sure because I am so honored to come on your show. I am so honored to have to have these minutes time taken away from my family, but time given to our community. But it's not about me as a person. It's about our people. It's about Pan Africanism. It's about all of us knowing, hey, we are together.
Well, I think what you should. I think you're taking time away from your family to give to another important family. So it's all family based. So no problem. Before we go to our break, I know you want to talk a little bit about most recent coup in Gabon.
Yes, and I think it's important here because another coup in Africa. Oh, we were just talking about Donald Trump. If you don't mind me saying, it would be so easy to discard it as, oh, well, shithole country, etc. It's Africa. They're so messy. Well, first of all, let's be careful. When we look at the political situation in the United States, January 6th, and then everything that came after, we can really see that instability is the norm. But here in Gabon, we have something interesting where a president, aka dictator, tried to steal elections and people said no. When I say people, yes, it came from the military, and some people will say it's just a faction of the same family in power. But still, the people are supporting this change. And you see a very different reaction to the coup in Gabon versus the coup in Niger. Yet, I want people to understand something very important here. Gabon, just as Niger, just as Burkina Faso, just as Mali is another former French colony. How is it that all these coups are happening in former French colony? What didn't work? For those of you who haven't studied African history, French colonization was called direct rule, where basically they were trying to turn Africans into good little melanated French citizens. And as such, and this is why for me it was important to talk about this, it's important that we understand the destruction of African slash Black identity, African culture, in terms of making them into little French citizens of darker skin. In the same logic as right here on this land of Canada, the residential school project was to make indigenous children into good white children with darker skin. We must not see this in separation. We must see this as some people like to go online and address, challenge, insult wokeism, aka all the rainbow people, LGBTQ, but also all the anti-black racism educator, and the feminists and the environmentalists. All this is part of waking up. All this is part of people saying the injustices of the past have to come to an end. The Bongo family has been in Gabon for over 50 years. The only reason they got to stay in power for over 50 years was because they had support from the French in Africa. And for those of you, brothers and sisters, who don't know this, when why French has so much strength in Africa is greatly because behind France, there's a United States in a more global game of geopolitics of the West versus the others. The others, first Russia, then China in terms of influence in terms of minerals, in terms of riches, in terms of that whole notion of world control, also called neocolonialism. Do not get me wrong. I am not some pro Russia or pro China person as you hear me criticize the West. Absolutely not. When I was at the United Nations for the for the Forum for People of African Descent, end of May, early June, in my 22 recommendations that I submitted, I might have been the only one to so criticize Russia and China because anti-black racism is there as well. So as I say, yes, let us criticize the West for anti-black racism, but let us not pretend that Russia and China are friends of Africa and friends of black people. That is not the case. It's always about interests. It's always about means. So the coup that happens in Gabon is a reflection of Africa as a whole. It's a reflection in terms of, notably for me, born in Cameroon. The question for many is, where is next? Will it be Central African Republic? Will it be Congo Brazzaville? Congo Brazzaville, a country of Africa named after a colonizer who was also a rapist of black children, Savorgnan de Brazza.
Mhm.
The name Brazzaville, Brazza City, Congo Brazzaville. That kind of tells you. So here we have to understand the much larger context of the coup that happened in Gabon. More such are to come. The world is changing. Let us wake up, my people. Let us wake up. Let us truly,
Okay.
truly, truly awaken to our black identity, our black pride, our black spirituality, and make those connections with our people on both sides of the ocean and even on that other ocean called the Indian Ocean, the Pacific Ocean. We are all connected. Go ahead, Dr. Vibe. Sorry.
No problem. I'm just saying if we should go for a break or should we just keep on going? What do you feel like? Keep on going, or you want to take a quick little break?
No, let's keep on going. Let's keep on going.
Okay.
I'm also being mindful of the time.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I do realize that. So next up, we're going to talk, and Cesar brought all the conversation pieces up today. We're going to talk about, and I want to know where he's coming from with this one, black and nerdy.
I
I went,
because
okay, where you're going with this? Well,
well, it's not just black and nerdy. It's really perceptions of black men. And I sent you two articles where this one, black and nerdy, and the next one, like we can put them together in terms of really talking about perceptions of black men. And you know, I read many people, notably on social media, talking about all these gender conflict between black men and black women. We have black men who have gained traction online uh, for some people by addressing gender issues in the black community. But for me and many people, they have gained traction by attacking, insulting black women. And here we can talk about the fact of, uh, whether it be people like the Fresh and Fit, the Kevin Samuels, the Andrew Tate, etc., etc. And just yesterday, as I'm saying this, just yesterday, a brother in Quebec shared a video, and he didn't know who was the person that he shared the video because he shared a video of these two Fresh and Fit. Well, by the way, I think they got kicked out of Instagram or YouTube, something like that. Yeah, they got kicked. I mean,
okay,
they got other venues, but they got kicked out of a major platform. I don't know if it's Instagram or
okay.
YouTube. I don't follow them. But uh, so this brother in Quebec yesterday shared a video of Fresh and Fit having a guest addressing some young woman, and he didn't know who was the guest. Maybe Dr. Vab, you know this guest. Before the Kevin Samuels, the Andrew Tate, Fresh and Fit, Tommy Sotomayor. I don't know if
Oh,
that.
I know that name. Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. Tommy Sotomayor. And Tommy
Oh,
Sotomayor, he may not remember me, but because it's been a few years, like 9 or 10 years ago, he banned me from all his platform because I was calling out that brother for his serious misogyny and hatred of black women. Serious misogyny, manipulation of facts, hatred of black women. So why I think it's important for us to notably talk about perceptions of black men. And here, as I sent you the article, Black and Nerdy, and the other one about black men being seen as bigger and more aggressive, it's easy to always talk about the missing black father, which has been proven to be a myth, a stereotype which is still perpetuated. Of course, there are missing or absentee black fathers, deadbeat black fathers. They exist in every community, absolutely. But black fathers are more present than not. Me spending time with my daughter, giving her bath, putting her to sleep, does not make me exceptional. In my circle of friends, those who are black as those who are brown and those who are white, they do this with the children.
right.
It's important to understand this. But I want to make sure that we also address what too often is turned into a joke or ridicule in the black community: the Carlton Banks, the Steve Urkel, the black and nerdy among us will basically are turned into jokes into in black TV shows that nobody wants to be like. And that becomes a problem because, as I remind people in my conferences and trainings, we are the black community where we take pride in some of our entertainers, many of our entertainers. But let's be honest, whether it's the G7 or G20, when it comes time for the entertainment piece, they might invite Jay-Z and Beyonce, who are worth over $1 billion together as a couple. They might invite them for the show or the closing show or whatever you want to call it. But what do you think they're going to invite to sit at the table to address power issues and how to change the world? It will be that 50 or 25 or 15, $10 million worth engineer, scientist from India, from China, from Israel, who is white maybe, It's them. In our community, we mock those who are black and nerdy. We talk of them speaking white. We make fun of the nature of their interests. Oh, are they gamers? We make fun of these things, and yet we need all of our black people. We need our black people who are nerds and geeks instead of making fun of them. And we know it can have consequences. We should embrace them. We should embrace them because they contribute to our community to rise up, to stand up. I mean, I don't know what it was like growing up for a Neil deGrasse Tyson, but I know 100% that in too many black families and communities, you look much better knowing your Bible verses, your Quranic verses, than for sounding like Black Einstein. And that's a fundamental problem.
Mm.
That is a fundamental problem that maybe we don't
Yeah,
want to
this
talk
is
too
this.
much.
Well, this is a whole big conversation, and we're just giving it just an appetizer today. I want to encourage people. And I've been delving into this for many years on my platform, um, and we've been doing it for a number of years. On the last Thursday of every month, we do something called Dr. Vibes Allies, and what
Mhm.
it is black men from Canada, the United States, and England talking about real subjects to them. And when I first started off this online journey, we did it for about 3-4 years. We took a break. It's back on again. And it looks like now more black men want to join this conversation, and getting the and intelligent black men
Mhm.
who, yeah, one of them is a professor. He's been a tenured professor for 15-20 years. People may think he's nerdy and all that, but he's a good brother, right? We shouldn't. It's it's not easy being a black man. I know it's not easy being a black woman, but we need smart people, family.
We need smart people. No, we need
I'm
them.
sorry. We need smart people. We need them as much as we can get, because it's a serious battle out there.
It's a serious battle, and I've had the honor, notably on being on forums and platforms where we notably had black male educators in the US and Canada come together. But it's still too rare where it should be common, where just as we say Black Lives Matter, just as we say Oscar so white in addressing entertainment, etc. And it's not just to criticize entertainment for the sake of criticizing entertainment. We want our black entertainers to succeed. It's important to say that. If you're a black comedian, a black athlete, a black musician, a black whatever script writer, I, Cesar, want you to succeed. But I need you to succeed with also a black pride mindset. So when we say a black pride mindset, it also means that we must support all of our black people, whether they be LGBTQ, whether they be disabled, whether they be so-called nerdy or geeks. Because that nerd or geek might very well be that person will find a solution to a medical problem tomorrow, but his wife is white because he felt rejected by the black community. How many of our
Hey, I'll get
entertainers How many of our
go ahead.
entertainers didn't go marry white women because they felt rejected by sisters? Kobe Bryant is one of them.
Hey,
That's what he said.
here's another great example. There is How many people use this software called Calendly? CALENDY.com, right? I know many people use it to schedule appointments with people and all that. The founder of that was a black man. He's maybe a little nerdy, eh? Should we reject him?
There you go.
I'm not.
And this is where for me was important to notably address is because I was a nerd growing up. I've always been a nerd, but I had the chance. I was a cool nerd. I was that nerd who helped people with homeworks. I was the teacher's pet, but also teacher's assistant since age 13, assisting in history classes and others. Yes, I was in the whatever the enriched genius, whatever classes they call it, but also played sports. I also, would sit with the girls, the hot girls. I got along with everyone. But even when I was in high school, I knew my experience was not the norm because even to this day, even to this day, Dr. Vibe, as I am in my 40s, I still have conversations with some friends who are still suffering from the high school experience, who are still suffering from having been called and been treated as a nerd or geek all these years. Basically, the desire to be involved for the community is still shaped by trauma. Yes, we can minimize it for others, but for them it was real. And this is why we have to understand that as Black men, the value is not just to work, pay bills, stress, and die in the positive sense. Because in the negative sense, yes, we can talk about the ones who are having kids left and right. We can talk about the ones who have a criminal record. We can talk about the ones who the list is long. But I think it's important that we value all of those different facets of our identity in coming more and more together. Because when you look in this world of 2023 that we live in, the Elon Musk and the Jack Ma, white men, Asian men, in the Black community, they don't tend to be treated so good. And that becomes a big problem when someone like me, dealing notably with high schoolers through our organizations, coming to speak to them on leadership, coming to speak to them on motivational speeches, I have to remind them Black lives matter, Black emotions matter, Black brains matter. It's that important that we have all of our people literally understanding this and coming together for such. Dr. Vibe, I seem to have lost you, so allow me to continue. Dr. Vibe, you back? I had lost you for a moment.
I'm back.
Okay.
No problem.
So yeah, and
So
just
I
one
get you.
last thing, if you don't mind.
Yep. Because no progress.
In,
I know you're on time. You're on the count.
in valuing the notion of, as I'm saying, Black and nerdy, it's also because one of the biggest stereotypes that we have placed against us Black people is the notion that we're more aggressive, that we're more violent. And we see this throughout society where, and I always denounce this, Dr. Shaquille O'Neal is not known and celebrated for having a PhD in education. He's known and
Mhm.
celebrated for being a former basketball player, but especially, and Shaq, if you hear me, please, I really mean this as a teenager to whom you were his favorite basketball player. Dr. Shaquille O'Neal is known and celebrated for acting a fool in commercials, for acting a fool on the NBA on TNT. He himself got disrespected by some teenager, young white kids live. Terry Crews, former football player, acting a fool, flexing his muscles. How old is brother Terry Crews? In his mid 50s, hitting the gym hard. I go to the gym too. I know he does more than just go to the gym for what he looks like, notably at his age. But we can't keep having our Black people acting a fool, comforting stereotypes to make white people feel safe by acting like clowns, because that's really what they're doing. Like, no, the white person is not going to tell you, oh, you're acting like a clown. Be serious. But they're acting like that to appease them. And at the same time, it creates a problem because it comforts the stereotypes of the clownish, dark skinned Black male who is seen as aggressive and violent. This type of stereotypes is notably what led to the murder by a police officer of a young I think he was 18 years old or 14 years old. Yes, I think he was 18 in 2014. Mike Brown,
Yeah.
described by the white cop as a gorilla. That is a problem. We look down on the black and nerdy, and we have too many brothers who glorify these notions of black violence, black aggressivity, being black and big. Even like, we mean mug one another as black people too often, and we call each other by the N word instead of brother and sister. I mean, you look at even in the, how do you call that? In terms of even stereotypes of nicknames, and notably in the triple X porn industry, Mandingo, the black savage, the black warrior, the black brainless.
Stallion. The
Sorry?
stallion.
Yeah, black
It's the
stallion.
stallion.
So
Yeah.
it becomes a problem as times are changing. We are seeing around us a rise in hate. We are seeing white supremacist groups. They're not becoming, they already are the number one domestic threats in many Western, if not all Western countries. We have to build stronger communities, and that starts by valuing one another more and more. I don't want to sound like a monologue, or even for some who have, uh, heard me before, like some type of broken record. But these notions need to be said and repeated time and time again, because maybe someone listening is the first time they hear this, or maybe someone
Yeah.
listening for the first time they're making certain connections. And when we have these stereotypes looking down on the black and nerdy, uh, those who are seen as larger, violent, aggressive, what does that end up doing? It creates another stereotype. The
Yeah.
coons, the sellouts, the
Yeah.
Kunde Owens, the Kanye West will basically parrot white supremacist narratives in order to be accepted in white circles.
Yeah. Not all money is good money.
There you go.
All right. Well, Cesar, I know you got to go. I like to
Thank you,
say, as
brother.
always, thank you for taking the time. If people want to get in touch with Cesar, there's his Facebook page. There's his email address. As always, Cesar, thank you so much for taking time. I know you got to run, but sometime in the we have to have a conversation about what we were talking about before we went live. We have to chat about, but
We
family
shall.
first, family first. Remember to give yourself grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Peace. All right, everyone. Cesar has to go, but as always, he's just laying it down, doing the thing, doing the right thing, and sharing his heart with us as always. And I hope you appreciate it. It's really good stuff. So before we close off today, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube. Subscribe and hit the notification button so you get notified when these conversations happen. Also, to advertise your show, your product, or your business on the platform or your service, email me dr at the drvibeshow.com. Also, you can watch replays of this epic conversation called Black Canada Talking on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So just put in the Dr. Vibe Show on any of those platforms. You'll get me. And also, you can go to my website, the drvibeshow.com. I want to thank everyone who watched live or on the replay. It's appreciated, not taken for granted. As always, this is what we close off with. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourself grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith and walk good. Yeah.